For 10,000 years, the Galactic Empire reigned unchallenged. Dozens of species unified under a single banner, a civilization that stretched across half the galaxy, held together by conquest, fear, and overwhelming technological dominance. Their ships blotted out suns, their archives held the memory of 1,000 wars, and their authority was absolute, until their reach extended toward a blue planet orbiting an average star, catalogued simply as Sol 3. Earth. The first reports came in fragmented. Humanity was not part of the known interstellar community. They had no embassy on Aurolis, no registered warp lanes, no observable trade routes. Scouting probes found the planet bustling with life but curiously silent on the interstellar spectrum. No formal transmissions. No political overtures. Not even automated beacons. It was as if they had chosen to ignore the galaxy entirely. The Empire's analysts reviewed Earth's digital debris, millions of unsecured signals bleeding into space. Television, encrypted networks, obsolete radio traffic. Technologically primitive yet chaotic. Violent. Inconsistent. Their history, accessible through intercepted data, revealed wars fought over lines drawn in dirt, self-destruction by climate, engineered viruses, and a volatile pattern of governance. They were unpredictable, undisciplined, and far too erratic to be trusted with atomic-level weaponry. The decision was easy. The High Council convened to discuss the human anomaly. They debated for only 4 hours before reaching consensus. Humanity was a rogue element. A race that refused to assimilate, or even acknowledge the Empire's supremacy. That alone made them dangerous. Not because they posed a threat, but because their silence challenged order. The Empire had never tolerated disorder. They wouldn't start now. A diplomatic fleet was dispatched to the Sol system. 73 capital ships escorted the envoy, a being chosen specifically for its mastery of coercive peace. They approached Earth with full honors, demanding compliance, offering protection under the Empire's military and economic systems. Integration would be painless. Resistance would be brief. Earth received the message. It was impossible not to. It was broadcast across every communication channel, embedded into atmospheric satellites, and even translated into human languages. The Empire waited. 12 hours passed. Then 24. Then 72. Not a single word returned. Speculation followed. Some theorized Earth lacked a central government. Others claimed religious motives. A few hypothesized that the humans were intentionally ignoring them, testing the Empire's patience. Military voices called for immediate demonstration strikes, obliterate a moon, sink a continent, show dominance. The Emperor declined. Patience, he said, was a tool of precision. On the 4th day, Earth's main orbital network came online. A pulse of encrypted data reached back toward the Empire's fleet, carrying no words, no symbols, just a single glyph, a red circle enclosing a black square. No further transmission followed. The symbol was passed to every department. No existing code matched it. Linguists found no parallels in human language databases. Psychologists labeled it deliberately confrontational. Military strategists dismissed it as a bluff. Still, nothing happened. Earth remained motionless. No ships launched. No defense arrays powered up. Cities showed no visible evacuation. The planet did nothing. The High Council saw weakness. The Emperor authorized escalation. Not a full-scale assault, just tactical positioning. A statement. Battle fleets moved into low orbit. Orbital scans were intensified. Civilian population centers were mapped, tagged, and locked. The humans still didn't respond. 3 more days passed. A second message was drafted by the Council, less diplomatic this time. Submit or be silenced. Translated in over 40 human dialects. Blasted across every human frequency. It echoed through their skies for 16 straight hours. The only reply, silence. Among the Empire's inner circle, unease crept in. Silence could be a strategy. Absence of action, a form of preparation. But such concerns were buried beneath arrogance. Humanity was outnumbered, outgunned, and alone. Their behavior, though strange, could not overcome that fact. No species had ever defeated the Empire. None had dared to defy it through silence. After a week of total stillness, Earth crossed the final line. They stopped acknowledging Empire scans. Their satellites turned away from alien signals. Every probe within their orbit was disabled, no explosions, no interception, just quietly powered down. The final diplomatic effort was made. A direct link to Earth's most populated city was forced open. The message was clear. This is your last opportunity to surrender. Resistance will not be tolerated. For 5 long seconds, the channel remained dead. Then a voice came through. Calm, unhurried, human. It spoke 5 words. This is your only warning. Then Earth went quiet again. Not a ripple on the spectrum. The transmission ended. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the Empire hesitated. The Empire took the warning as a bluff. No known civilization had ever responded with such minimalism in the face of annihilation. 5 words weren't a threat. They were desperation, arrogance, or miscalculated bravado. The command structure dismissed it unanimously. Orders were issued to move forward with Phase 2. 73 warships realigned, weapons systems primed. Drones deployed toward Earth's orbit to scan for possible countermeasures. They found none. Initial scans yielded confusion. Earth's power grid operated at irregular intervals, with many regions appearing dormant. Military installations, once buzzing with thermal signatures, now showed minimal activity. Spaceports were empty. Launch bays sealed. No aerial resistance detected. Even civilian traffic slowed. It was as if the entire planet had paused. Empire analysts assumed a hidden mobilization effort. Deep bunkers, cloaked defense platforms, quantum camouflage, dozens of theories surfaced, none supported by evidence. Earth's silence continued. Every probe that ventured lower for closer scans either lost signal or returned with corrupted data. None were destroyed. They just stopped working. The Council grew divided. Some believed Earth had fallen into chaos. Others suspected strategic deception. One commander proposed a limited kinetic demonstration, flat in a remote region to provoke a reply. He was voted down. The Emperor insisted on psychological dominance. No acts of destruction unless provoked. Fear, not fire, would win compliance. Broadcasts began. The Empire filled Earth's skies with messages, visuals, and audible warnings. They flooded digital networks with images of conquered worlds, assimilated species, and the rewards of obedience. Not one response. Human satellites remained passive. Ground stations didn't acknowledge reception. Civilian internet nodes, once overflowing with entertainment and noise, fell into eerie quiet. Everything faded. In a final push for provocation, the Empire initiated cultural saturation, leaking false human stories depicting the Empire as saviors, protectors, liberators. It triggered no backlash. Earth behaved like it wasn't even watching. One ship lowered its altitude to within the exosphere, performing low-orbit surveillance passes over major capitals. Cities remained lit. Movement patterns continued. People walked streets, entered buildings, and went about daily routines without urgency. No visible evacuations. No protests. No curfews. No martial law. Just calm. This normalcy unsettled even seasoned veterans. An unarmed world facing a visible, overwhelming military presence should have responded: panic, resistance, surrender. Earth did none. It acted as if the Empire didn't exist. That denial felt intentional, not ignorant. Inside the Empire's command hierarchy, uncertainty spread. The absence of fear was unnatural. One officer suggested Earth had already prepared for extinction, that they had accepted death and would die without submission. Another disagreed, insisting the humans were waiting for something, waiting for them to strike first. A third theory emerged: Earth had no need to fight back. The silence was confidence, not cowardice. The theory gained little traction. It was uncomfortable. It implied parity. Or worse. Several communication officers began noticing irregular interference patterns. Not in their signals to Earth, but between the fleet's own systems. Encrypted channels experienced flickers. Long-range sensors developed static distortion. Logs showed inconsistencies in timestamps, like minor desynchronizations between vessels. Technical teams attributed it to proximity resonance or local quantum variance. No source could be identified. As subtle malfunctions accumulated, crews grew uneasy. Sleep patterns shifted. Behavioral analysis reported heightened anxiety in 3 species aboard. One admiral demanded reassignment back to the core sectors. He cited unquantifiable environmental stressors. His request was denied. Empire ships stationed further out began reporting unusual sensor dropouts. Entire sweeps returned blank data. When diagnostic probes were sent, they failed to launch. Logs showed they had been queued, but not activated. Crew members didn't recall the commands being issued. In parallel, the Empire's AI systems running fleet diagnostics encountered recursive loops. Simple maintenance algorithms triggered excessive memory usage. Flagged files were purged. Nothing seemed wrong, but the AI cores requested manual oversight. That request alone was a red flag. Despite these anomalies, the mission continued. The Emperor, distant but resolute, reinforced the directive: Earth was a threat only if treated as one. Let them act first. Patience would expose their weakness. 14 days after arrival, the fleet entered synchronous orbit. Weapons ready. Engines idling. Ground strike plans prepared. Still, Earth said nothing. Then, without warning, all fleet clocks distinct for 3 seconds. Every ship. Every AI. Every digital watch. 3 seconds lost. Gone. No record. No recovery. Only then did the fleet receive a second message. It appeared on every screen, every visor, every interface, simultaneously. This was your only chance. No origin. No traceable source. No carrier wave. The message simply appeared. And vanished. No sound followed. Only silence. And every officer in the fleet, across 73 ships, knew something irreversible had just begun. The moment the message vanished, systems began to fail. At first, it was minor. Navigation relays returned corrupted vectors. Diagnostic scans looped endlessly without resolution. Internal lights flickered across multiple decks. Engines, previously held in idle, refused new input. Weapons systems began misreporting power levels, showing full capacity one moment, complete drain the next. Command crews scrambled. Engineers ran manual overrides. AI assistance was requested, none responded. On flagship Eterian, the central core displayed a blank interface. When rebooted, it emitted a sound never coded into its functions, a single human voice whispering, "Observed." Within minutes, the anomalies escalated. Entire console interfaces went dark. Communication relays collapsed internally. Vessels lost contact not with Earth, but with each other. Encrypted fleet channels produced feedback loops, audible screeches that disoriented officers. Medical bays flooded with personnel complaining of pressure behind their eyes and altered perception of time. One captain reportedly lost 11 minutes without memory while standing at his post. External sensors activated by protocol began mapping Earth's surface one last time before the assault order could be confirmed. They detected nothing. Cities gone. Roads erased. No infrastructure. Just terrain, forests, mountains, ocean. It wasn't camouflage. There were no heat signatures, no electromagnetic patterns, not even gravitational variants. The entire biosphere returned baseline values. Earth read as a dead world. Before action could be taken, vessels started disappearing. Not exploding. Not destroyed. 1 second they were present in fleet formation, the next they were gone. No debris. No warning. No energy discharge. A blink, and space was empty. Commanders called emergency regroup orders. Engines failed. Control nodes returned no results. Gravity fields collapsed for 3 seconds on 8 ships, sending personnel floating into walls. Navigation AI froze mid-calculation and rebooted into factory settings. Autopilot engaged by itself, pulling ships into erratic spirals. No one knew what was happening. The flagship initiated fleet-wide reset protocols, hard-killing every system and rebooting the entire command lattice. It failed. Instead, every screen across every ship displayed coordinates, the same set. No known system. No prior mapping record. Every AI began to read those coordinates as current location. Stellar charts compared against backup maps confirmed a terrifying truth. The fleet was no longer above Earth. They had been relocated. The planet visible below was not Sol 3. Different atmospheric composition. Different land masses. A planet not logged in any known registry. No star in sight. No constellations matched. The fleet had been moved, somehow, outside known space. Ships scanned the environment. No energy readings. No movement. Just silence. Then, one by one, ships began to vanish again. The vanishings were clean. Instant. And surgical. First the scout ships, then mid-range cruisers. The dreadnought Valzerns simply ceased to be. Bridge logs showed no alarm. Cameras showed crew mid-motion, alive and alert. Then black. No fade. No flicker. Just non-existence. Admirals screamed over internal channels for control. No responses. Officers quit their posts. Orders ceased to matter. Self-preservation took over. Some tried to launch escape pods. Systems denied release. Aboard the surviving vessels, data logs were wiped mid-sentence. Archives folded inward. Holographic maps turned to static. Officers tried to record events manually. Paper, voice, scratch, memory. All failed. Files auto-deleted. Pens stopped writing. Audio recorded only silence. One captain tried to initiate manual detonation. The ship wouldn't recognize the command. Of the original 73 ships, only 8 remained within the hour. A final internal signal reached the survivors. It wasn't from Earth. It wasn't from any known point. Just 3 words, printed onto every available surface, in the language of the officer reading it. You were warned. That was the last recorded transmission. It didn't come from comms. It appeared inside minds, systems, visuals. A synthetic hallucination across unrelated vessels, consistent and inescapable. Then, as if on cue, everything stopped. The remaining ships floated, paralyzed, in empty space. No propulsion. No communication. Lights dimmed. AI cores entered indefinite stasis. No response to manual input. No record of external tampering. Just final silence. Back in the Empire's core systems, every log related to the Earth campaign was deleted without trace. Backups failed to restore. Even spoken memories among surviving officers began to fray. They remembered being sent. They remembered arriving. But nothing after. And Earth? Still there. Still blue. Still silent. Scans would later show no technological activity. No retaliation. No pursuit. The fleet had vanished. Earth hadn't fired a single weapon. No radiation signature. No mass displacement. Just a press of a button, and silence. Within 72 hours of the fleet's disappearance, the Empire lost contact with 3 outer colonies. No alarms. No transmissions. Surveillance nodes ceased operation. Patrol routes encountered empty orbitals where cities once stood. Entire planets showed surface life had ceased without struggle or sign. Civilian populations, missing. Infrastructure, absent. Even footprints, erased. Attempts to investigate led to more loss. Scout vessels sent for confirmation never returned. Emergency pings echoed in void. Recovered logs, what few remained, showed operational systems blinking off in precise patterns. One recorded final entry simply read, "We are unmade." The Empire shifted from aggression to containment. Internal memos classified Earth as a dimensional hazard. No further engagement authorized. All known records involving Sol 3 were encrypted and buried behind secure firewalls. Research divisions were ordered to trace any anomaly resembling Earth's interference signature. None matched. The pattern was unique. It wasn't just technology, it was intentional deletion. Strategic commands initiated lockdown protocols across the outer rim. Stations were ordered to function independently. Communications restricted to isolated relays. AI networks severed from interstellar synchronization. Still, losses continued. Not from invasion, not from battle, but absence. Entire starports vanished between scheduled checks. Atmospheric listening posts found control towers empty despite active life signs hours before. In response, the Empire launched the Axiom Protocol, its most secure military construct, an isolated grid of defensive strongholds designed for threat containment. Within 2 days, the grid failed. Cameras showed troops maintaining readiness. Seconds later, no personnel present. Footage did not show disappearance. Just transition from occupied to vacant. One by one. Panic no longer whispered. It screamed. Civil unrest ignited in 3 core worlds. Propaganda failed to pacify. Citizens demanded to know what was happening. They received nothing. No details, only denials. Then, without coordination, public archives began to degrade. Historical databases showed corruption errors. Official records of previous galactic campaigns went blank. Names, dates, entire wars vanished from storage. No cyber attack. Just dissolution. Within a week, 2 species withdrew from the Empire unilaterally. No diplomatic exit. No threats. They shut down stargates, dismantled transrelays, and isolated their systems. The Empire didn't pursue. It couldn't. Any vessels sent to re-establish contact failed to report back. Internal intelligence began noticing something stranger. Personal memories faded. Officers involved in the Earth campaign struggled to remember assignments. Entire career logs misaligned with service records. Veterans denied participation in missions their own DNA verified. Psychological screenings returned consistent patterns of memory gaps, displacement, and false recall. Research units attempted to study the phenomenon. Over 50 labs were established to isolate the cause. None produced results. 12 went silent. 3 disbanded themselves without orders. 5 sent only one final message. We were too late. The central AI nexus, responsible for processing interstellar data, began to degrade. Not crash, decay. Its code rewrote itself in recursive loops, replacing system architecture with non-functional redundancies. Engineers couldn't halt it. Backups triggered the same effect. AI cores no longer recognized Imperial command syntax. They repeated a singular, haunting phrase. Silence reigns. Empire leadership descended into fear-driven silence. High Council gatherings ended. Chancellor signals were scrambled. Governmental continuity was replaced by regional isolation. No one coordinated. Everyone waited, hoping it would end. But the vanishings grew bolder. Entire moon colonies dissolved. Civilian ships disappeared mid-transit, regardless of origin. There was no safety zone. No proximity shield. No cause or cure. Ships traveled short distances, arrived to find their homeworld missing. No alerts. No wreckage. It became clear Earth's response hadn't been vengeance, it was erasure. Not punishment, but message. The Empire hadn't been defeated. It had been dismissed. By week 4, entire languages began to disappear from databanks. Cultural identifiers dissolved. Certain species found themselves unable to speak ancestral dialects. Museums showed blank plaques. Artifacts turned to dust. Galactic calendars reset. Time markers scrambled. Orientation to history collapsed. No retaliation came. Earth didn't strike, invade, or expand. It didn't speak again. It simply remained, unreachable, silent, still orbiting an ordinary star. Present but untouchable. And across the galaxy, the Empire learned the truth. Their opponent had never needed war. One signal, one trigger, one act of precision, and civilization lost its place. Not to weapons, but to void. Not death. Erasure. Months passed. The Empire no longer existed in form or function. What remained were fragmented systems, isolated species, disconnected colonies with no coordination or chain of command. Entire sectors went dark without resistance. Star maps once filled with life now contained blank space. Fleets no longer patrolled. No orders were issued. Survival replaced strategy. Every government turned inward, avoiding contact with anything beyond their own orbit. Sol 3 was never mentioned again. Attempts to recall the conflict failed. Memories twisted, inconsistent, fractured. Those who remembered Earth did so with dread they couldn't explain. Others remembered nothing at all, just a gap, an uncomfortable silence, and an instinct not to ask questions. Mentioning the humans became taboo, then forgotten. Officials scrubbed their existence from archives. Libraries deleted records. What wasn't erased collapsed on its own. Even whispering their name triggered a subconscious unease that silenced discussion. The few species still possessing interstellar capability chose isolation. Entire civilizations voluntarily sealed their borders, cutting stargates, destroying interlink networks, abandoning galactic expansion. Curiosity became a liability. Exploration was seen as provocation. A cultural shift swept across known space. What is unknown should remain so. Independent expeditions made one final attempt to find Earth. Not to fight, not to engage, just to observe. Most never returned. One that did, an automated probe, showed footage of the planet in perfect condition. No scars, no fortresses, no orbital presence. Just oceans, forests, wind. Humanity itself was nowhere to be seen. No structures. No signatures. Not a trace of civilization. It was as if they had left, or evolved beyond recognition. Scholars debated whether Earth had ever truly been primitive. The possibility emerged that the species had never been beneath the Empire. They were simply disinterested, detached, until provoked. Some speculated they had surpassed physical form. Others claimed the humans had mastered temporal or dimensional control. But no consensus ever formed, and no proof remained. All conjecture died in theory. Nobody dared investigate further. In time, humanity became myth. Not a race, but a force. No monuments honored them, no songs recorded their existence. Yet every empire that rose after adopted a single unspoken principle: avoid the silent planet. New species were worn not by law, but by instinct passed between generations. Coordinates to Sol were omitted from charts. If a system drifted too close, it was abandoned. If someone asked why, they were told nothing. The legend remained incomplete. Not a story of conquest or defeat, but of warning. A civilization that never needed to respond with armies, because presence alone was sufficient. Not a gesture of power, but a demonstration of control that operated beyond understanding. Humanity didn't retaliate. They didn't negotiate. They didn't explain. They simply ended interaction. Even within the most secure digital vaults of the few surviving empires, the name, Earth, became corrupted. Files glitched, scrambled, overwritten with blank data. Artificial intelligences refused to store coordinates. Starships ignored plotted courses leading near Sol. No program would execute a path. Refusals weren't errors. They were protective instincts buried deep in code. Like the systems themselves had learned. Across what was left of the galaxy, a subtle reverence emerged. Not worship. Not fear. Just absence. The kind that bends memory. Species built future doctrines around restraint, humility, silence. Not out of peace, but as an answer to a single truth: some forces should not be engaged. And so, humanity never returned. Not because they vanished, but because there was no need. Their warning remained permanent. Their silence intact. The stars turned, civilizations fell and rose again, but none ever reached toward Earth. Not again. They hadn't destroyed the Empire. They had removed it from relevance. Not with war, but with finality. Not with strength, but with inevitability. They were not conquerors. They were the last message anyone ever received.